So I want to do a video on Inscription. Um, First thing, one thing you want to do is you want to figure out the cost of your pigments and what you're going to need. So for example, xanthid, you're going to need this number up here, 168487. So on your crafting window, we'll go not xanthid here. We want to look at, I think it's maroon pigment. Um, so what I've done is this number here, 168487, and we can just double check this. We can look at that. And so what you want to do is, so what I did earlier was I bought 100 and then mass milled it, and out of the 100 I got 64. So if we do the math, 64 divided by 100, you're getting 0.64 maroon pigment per xanthid. So what does that mean? So the cost is that you're paying for this, we're just going to invert it. So that's the number here. So I have 1.5625 times the average buy price of xanthid. So this is one of the herbs and pigments. There's only one herb that you can buy to mill to get this. So if you wanted to, if you have some of the other ones, I think that I was looking at alabaster pigment earlier. So there's, I think it takes peace bloom, silver leaf, and earthroot. So you could maybe come up with some sort of formula that says take the maximum amount and of the average buy of each one of those that you have, or you could maybe do the minimum, which is probably what you might want to do, or you take the average of what your buy price is for each one of those. But you know, you might be buying those for alchemy or something like that. So but that still might be something what you want to do. So I've done this. I've come up with a cost for maroon pigment, which then means maroon ink is going to either be, you could maybe add in the average buy there, or what I have here is DB Market. You might want to do something, add in even something something else here. But anyway, so maroon pigment, you make maroon ink by with the distilled water and the maroon pigment. So the distilled water, that was one of the things is, I think I had to hard set this, is because somebody was posting, I think I had like average buy maybe, and or vendor buy. For some reason, sometimes TSM was losing the value for the vendor buy. So I've actually just hard coded it. I just put 13 copper in there, so it's always that. So anyway, so if you go down to your crafting window and you look at maroon, if I can spell it, maroon ink, so you can actually see if something is profitable or not. And I was looking at a lot of this stuff. A lot of these the highborn compendiums are really good. They're pretty profitable, at least on my server. And you can go through and do the same thing with crimson ink. And okay, and then I have to mention this. One of the bad things about Inscription, at least in BFA, is ultramarine pigment. You will end up getting tons and tons and tons of it. So I mean, I've got close to 20,000 of just the pigment, and there's not enough stuff in the game that uses the ink or the pigment for the amount that gets generated. So it's almost like a waste product in your milling process. So I'm hoping that they might add an ink trader or a pigment trader, so you can trade some of this stuff for some, maybe either the older pigments, and that's what they've done in, I think in well, in Legion there's the rosette pigment that you get from milling the Legion herbs, and you can trade that pigment for some of the older inks that you use for that you might want to use for leveling up your older Inscription, your vanilla and stuff like that. So, and I would say vanilla is pretty profitable, along with Pandaria, and I'll go into my ledger here. I'll show you some of the profitable items. So on my this character, I do Inscription, and I also do the cloth transmog, as well as like wands and other things. So let's just do all, and you can, I think I originally started this character, I gave it like 1,000,000 gold, and you can see I've got like 900,000 over that, and so, and that's probably over a couple of weeks, sorry, couple of months, that I've sold a lot of stuff. So let me just make sure. Yeah, so here's a lot of the items that I've sold, and contracts were pretty good, but I think lately some of them have people are like really just crashing the market for below what it takes to make these, and I might not have the most up-to-date, like the rank 3 recipes, so my costs are probably a lot higher than typical, but yeah, I've just stopped making these. Yeah, you can see my cost for crimson ink is 129 gold for 10, so it's just not worth it to stock these, and I think I've just gotten rid of most of them. Actually the newer ones, the Ultimate Cord ones, which I actually don't know that. I just happened to buy one of these really cheap. I think somebody was selling it really cheap on the auction house, so I bought it and resold it. So anyway, a lot of people buy glyphs. The Dark Moon cards were selling for a while. I've kind of stopped messing with those. I don't know. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, and I end up getting extra stuff here. So yeah, I was selling some of the cards. Glyphs are always going to be decent sellers, provided you can sell them for a decent price. So you can see a lot of these here. Glyph, and those are always, and that actually kind of helps selling those. If you can make them to help yourself level, that's a good way to actually be profitable while you're actually leveling the stuff. I think one of the things I wanted to point out is the Pandaria inscriptions, the shoulder inscriptions. Those are pretty good sellers, and I think when I first started in that market, somebody had like really jacked up the price, so I'm not sure if they were selling or not, but using the formula that I use, I just sell them for to me a decent profit. And like I was saying, I think the highborn stuff sells pretty well. A lot of people are using those to fill in. Maybe they have one or two. They've just got to 120. Yeah, they do a lot of world quests. They're able to get their item level up pretty high, but maybe they have one or two spots that they still need to get to fill in. So they'll pick up a trinket here or there. Yeah, like I sell lots of other stuff here. Some more at the Tome of the Quiet Minds. Those were selling quite well earlier on, not so much lately. And finally, the War Scrolls. Those are still selling decently. A lot of people are probably. I've sent a couple to some of my characters. I'm trying to do the. I did the 5 mask run in Orgrimmar, and I was working on the 5 mask run in Stormwind, and I was just still getting some problems here or there, so I just wanted any kind of edge I could get, so I sent some War Scrolls of like Fortitude and Battle Shout, just to maybe give myself a little bit more of an edge, but I didn't quite make it. I was like very, very close, so it'll probably be next week before I get to it. Finally, I want to talk about the how you set up your selling here. So there's a couple of so you're going to do some buying and you're going to be doing selling. So for the a lot of the for the base glyphs, a lot of the glyphs I'll throw into here. So what I have is I post one, and I have a restock value of 5. So the idea is that you always have like maybe 4 in your bags, or you'll post one, and then I end up logging in the morning and in the evening, and then I'll run instead of doing like a cancel scan or something like that, I'll just do a post, and if I got undercut, then I'll just post another one undercutting whoever undercut me, and eventually, at some point you end up getting to where you don't have any in your bags. So that's maybe when you'll do a cancel scan. You do a cancel scan every once in a while, which is good to kind of get a lot of this stuff off the auction house, and maybe it might help you reset the price to some degree. So that's mainly for the glyphs. Excuse me. For some of the basic items, the craftable items, like the highborn stuff, I actually manually make 5 of those. Some of the other stuff, I just, I'll make one, post it. If it sells, then I'll create another one on the fly. And then I have kind of like a step that I do where if something hasn't sold in I think I have it set to like 100. So if it hasn't sold after 100 expirations, I'll move it to a lower priced list, which I'll list it for a little bit longer. So I call it my sales 6. So what I do there, I average in the region sale average 6 times with the other variables I'm using, or DB region sale average. And then if something hasn't sold in a while and I just don't really want to keep listing it, I'll move it down to a restock 0. So maybe once it's sold, I don't bother restocking it. So like I've got some of these here. These probably would be, I could probably make some gold on these. However, they just weren't selling that well. Plus, you can see that the vendor price is really high. I probably need to learn the appearance for these too, but they just with the vendor price so high, you're really using a lot of gold for your deposit. So you just want to, you probably don't want to list those that for such a small amount. To me, like this item here, 1,000 gold. That would be great if it sold. If I could sell one every week, then that would be definitely worth it. But if you're not, I think it. I sold 2, and I think the price was probably starting around 5,000 gold, but came down pretty far. Anyway, I'm kind of rambling on here. Anyway, you can set up your however you want your selling, but I would advise you keep some in your bags. You can see I've got quite a few things in my bags, just extra stuff. The other thing that you'll probably want to set up is I've got a shopping operation, and what I've done here is, so my problem is, it's like, okay, well I need moon glow ink. Well, I can't think, when I'm looking in my crafting window, so like here, so I need shimmering ink. Okay, well, where does shimmering ink come from? Well, I actually have a group that I call silvery, so I've got silvery pigment, which converts to shimmering ink, which you can craft it into shimmering ink. So here I can look and it's like, oh, okay, well, from the name I've given it, I know that shimmering ink comes from silvery pigment, and it's also from vanilla and BC herbs, which I should probably have something a little bit more descriptive even there. But in this group, I've got the herbs that I need to look on the auction house for in order to make this pigment. So not sure why Ink of the Sky is here. It's probably one of those extra rare things like sapphire pigment. You probably rarely get that from milling these items. So anyway, I think I've covered most of what I wanted to. Hey, and if y'all have any questions or comments or something you want me to make a video on, then let me know. Put something in the comments. I'm always looking for ideas. And I can't remember if I talked about this at the start, because I made a video earlier. Did I mention the... I'm pretty sure I did mention that. So anyway, you can calculate how much it costs to make your pigments and stuff. So anyway, I appreciate everyone watching, and y'all have a great day. Take care.